Hi, I'm Dr. Chris Heine, and today we're going to be talking about some basic exercises and techniques to make sure that our horses stay out of our space and allow us to be safe when working around them. So we'll be covering some basic training ideas and thoughts on how to make sure that your horse is always a joy to be around. So one of the things that I want to talk about before we start going into training techniques with the horse is thinking about the mental state of the horse and making sure they're sort of set up and ready to learn. So this horse here, Cactus, this is one of my own personal horses, and I just actually pulled him out of the pasture to do this with us today and brought him into a relatively new environment. But you can tell that he's actually handling this pretty well. So he's fairly relaxed, he is not moving his feet around, I don't really see any whites of his eyes, he's not very nervous. So this tells me that this horse is in a good mental state to do any training work. Some of the key things that you might think about that may get you in trouble when you're training a horse. If you take them away from all of their herd mates and they're not used to being alone, that can create a lot of anxiety in the horse. Or if we're moving them to a very novel location and if they're not used to traveling and working in new places. So always think about, is my horse in a calm, sort of relaxed frame of mind that he's going to be able to learn what I'm teaching him today? I want to talk a little bit about the equipment when I'm working on groundwork with a horse. So this horse right now is just wearing a basic nylon web halter, pretty much the ones that you're going to use most every day around the farm. They're great, and I really always want to make sure that my horse will respond to me in a web halter. But I might actually need to use a different type of halter if my horse is being a little resistant or if I need a little bit more pressure applied to my horse. So a lot of us use rope halters. The advantage sometimes of using a rope halter is with a narrower diameter, they actually put a little bit more distinct pressure on the horse's face. Some downsides, this particular one, actually the lead rope is tied onto it, and that doesn't give me a lot of options for changing to a different lead rope that I might find a little bit more advantageous. This one here is a pretty lightweight one. You might actually put this in a saddlebag if we're going for a trail ride, but again you can see that the diameter of this rope halter is much more narrow than my nice web halter here. Finally, I have a different version here of a rope halter, and you can see with this one, we actually have a few extra little knots on the bridge of the horse, or on the halter where the bridge of the horse's nose would go. And again, what these are for is actually to get a little bit more pressure on the horse if he's being a little resistant and not really listening to me pulling on that lead rope or trying to direct his head. It really depends kind of on the situation and the horse, which halter you may actually choose. Some horses that are extremely sensitive, if we bump them too hard with a small diameter halter, that might create almost too big of a reaction. Kind of let your horse be a little bit of a guide of which halter that you're going to select, and you might actually use different halters for different situations. So I'll use a web halter for sort of everyday purposes, but again, if I want to work on some specific training techniques, I might switch to a rope halter, again, depending on what the horse and the situation dictates. However, whichever one you use, you want to make sure that it fits the horse well, doesn't have any defects to it, to make sure that it's going to be safe and that you know how to adjust it properly to your horse's head. So I wanted to briefly just talk about lead ropes. Seems like a pretty simple concept, but I will actually use different lead ropes depending on the situation as well. So kind of a plain cotton barn rope. Great for tying the horse up, great for everyday practices, but it may not give me the length that I want to actually do some specific training exercises with the horse. So if I'm going to do some groundwork with my horse, I actually do prefer what I have on this horse, which is a lead rope that has a little bit of extra length to it. And you can see that this lead rope actually also has a little leather popper on the end of it. So this extra little piece provides a little bit of extra weight for me to be able to direct my lead rope And the length allows me to do some extra activities with this horse that, again, my standard stable lead rope may not allow me to do.